The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with the usual mix of clicking, chirping, and harmonic frequencies that passed for conversation among the assembled species. Ambassador Zekthar of the Vorthak Empire adjusted his crystalline exoskeleton as he prepared to address the Council about the newest applicants for military alliance membership. "Esteemed colleagues," Zekthar's voice resonated through the translation matrix, "we gather today to discuss the humans' request to join our defensive coalition against the Zerathi swarm." A ripple of what could only be described as laughter echoed through the chamber. The Cavallari delegation's tentacles writhed in amusement, while the insectoid Chitrak representatives clicked their mandibles in a rhythm that clearly indicated mockery. "The humans?" General Morden of the Hegemony Fleet leaned forward, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "Have you seen their soldiers, Zekthar? They stand barely 2 meters tall, have only 2 arms, and their skin can be pierced by their own primitive weapons. What possible use could such fragile creatures be in warfare?" Captain Thessara, representing the aquatic profound depth civilization, bubbled through her breathing apparatus. "Our intelligence reports indicate humans have been engaged in constant warfare on their homeworld for millennia, yet they still use chemical propellants for their weapons and metal alloys for protection. My youngest spawn could penetrate their so-called armor with a focused water stream." The council chamber filled with more derisive sounds. Admiral Crix of the Machine Collective's mechanical voice cut through the noise. "Analysis of human combat footage reveals significant tactical flaws. They exhibit emotional responses during battle, which leads to unpredictable behavior patterns. Their survival instincts often override strategic objectives. Most puzzling, they form attachments to other unit members, creating exploitable weaknesses." Zekthar nodded gravely. "Indeed, the psychological profiles are concerning. Humans demonstrate what they call loyalty and sacrifice for fellow soldiers. This emotional contamination makes them unreliable assets. However, there is something else our scouts have reported." The chamber quieted as delegates leaned closer to their translation devices. "The humans have brought with them creatures, domesticated beasts they call dogs, 4-legged animals with fur and teeth. The humans claim these animals are soldiers and insist they be included in any military partnership." The silence lasted exactly 2.7 seconds before the chamber erupted in what every species present interpreted as hysterical laughter. "They want to bring pets to war?" General Morden's voice cracked with amusement. "What's next? Their food preparation organisms?" Captain Thessara nearly choked on her breathing fluid. "Our xenobiologists analyzed footage of these dogs. They possess no natural armor, no energy weapons, no technological enhancements. They appear to exist solely to receive affection from humans and retrieve thrown objects." "The tactical analysis is even more absurd," Admiral Crix interjected. "These creatures weigh between 20 and 40 kilograms on average. They have no opposable digits, cannot operate weapons, and their maximum speed barely exceeds 40 kilometers per hour. By what possible logic do humans consider them military assets?" Delegate Yivrin from the Ethereal Collective, whose species rarely spoke, finally materialized enough to contribute. "Perhaps the humans use them as emergency food supplies during extended campaigns." This suggestion sent the chamber into fresh waves of laughter. Zekthar waited for the commotion to die down before continuing. "The human representative, Colonel Sarah Chen, is scheduled to present their case tomorrow. She has specifically requested to demonstrate what she terms human-canine tactical integration. The demonstration will take place in Simulation Chamber 7. "A demonstration of pets?" General Morden wiped moisture from his primary eyes. "This should prove entertaining, if nothing else." "I propose we allow this presentation," Captain Thessara suggested, her voice still bubbling with amusement. "If nothing else, it will provide data on human delusions of military competence. Perhaps we can offer them a role in our auxiliary support services, waste management, perhaps, or entertainment for actual warriors during downtime. The vote was unanimous. Every delegate eagerly anticipated what promised to be the most amusing council session in recent memory. Meanwhile, in the human quarters of the station, Colonel Chen was running final checks on her equipment. Beside her, a German shepherd named Marcus sat at perfect attention, his dark eyes alert and focused. The dog wore a tactical harness equipped with various pouches and communication devices. "I know what they think about us, boy," Chen said quietly, scratching behind Marcus's ears. "They think we're weak. They think you're just a pet." Marcus's tail wagged once, his ears perked forward. "Tomorrow we show them what 10,000 years of partnership looks like. What evolution created when wolves decided to stand with humans against the darkness." Chen pulled up the tactical scenarios on her tablet. The Galactic Council had chosen 3 standard combat simulations: urban assault, hostage rescue, and perimeter defense. All scenarios that favored the advanced technology and specialized abilities of established galactic military forces. "They have no idea what they're about to see," Chen murmured as she reviewed Marcus's mission parameters. The dog had been through 2 years of advanced tactical training, cross-species threat assessment, and zero-gravity combat protocols. More importantly, he had been bred from a line of military working dogs that stretched back through human history. The other human team members were making similar preparations throughout the quarters. Sergeant Rivera checked the gear for his Belgian Malinois, Luna, while Corporal Thompson calibrated the communication array for his Border Collie mix, Scout. Each dog represented different specialized capabilities that the aliens had no framework for understanding. Dr. Elizabeth Hayes, the team's xenobiologist, was documenting everything for the historical record. "The irony is perfect," she noted in her log. "They mock us for bringing dogs to a galactic war, not understanding that dogs are the reason we survived long enough to reach the stars in the first place." She paused her recording to watch Marcus perform an equipment check with Colonel Chen. The dog methodically sniffed each piece of gear, his nose capable of detecting chemical signatures that human technology couldn't match. His ears rotated independently, processing acoustic information across frequency ranges that surpassed most galactic species' capabilities. "They see primitive animals," Dr. Hayes continued. "We see partners who have been at our side through every major conflict in human history, every technological advancement, every step toward the stars." The next morning, the demonstration chamber buzzed with anticipation. Representatives from 47 galactic civilizations had gathered to witness what many were calling the human comedy show. Betting pools had been established on how quickly the humans would realize their mistake. Colonel Chen entered the chamber with Marcus at her side, both moving with the precise coordination of a military unit. The dog's head was held high, his stance alert but relaxed. To the assembled aliens, he looked like exactly what they expected, a primitive animal accompanying his human keeper to an inappropriate venue. "Honored delegates," Chen began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. "Today, I will demonstrate the tactical capabilities developed through the oldest alliance in human history. The partnership between human and dog that forged our species in the fires of survival." General Morden leaned toward his aide. "Notice how she speaks of the animal as if it were an equal participant. This emotional attachment is precisely why humans are unsuitable for serious military operations." Chen gestured to the control booth. "Please initialize Urban Assault Scenario 7, maximum difficulty, full combat parameters." The chamber transformed into a detailed cityscape, complete with multi-story buildings, vehicles, and simulated civilian populations. Enemy forces represented by advanced combat drones programmed with the tactical knowledge of the galaxy's most successful military civilizations took positions throughout the area. The objective is to neutralize 12 hostiles while protecting 47 civilians scattered throughout the combat zone. Time limit, 18 minutes. Standard galactic forces average 26 minutes for successful completion. The aliens settled back to watch what they assumed would be a spectacular failure. The scenario had been designed by the hegemony's best military minds and had never been completed in under 20 minutes by any single operative team. Chen looked down at Marcus. The dog's entire demeanor had changed. His playful expression was gone, replaced by the focused intensity of a predator. His eyes scanned the environment systematically, while his nose processed thousands of scent markers invisible to human senses. "Marcus," Chen said quietly, "hunt." What happened next would be studied in galactic military academies for generations. Marcus moved like liquid shadow through the simulated urban environment. His paws made no sound on the concrete as he flowed between cover points, nose constantly testing the air for threats. The delegates watched their displays in growing confusion as the dog seemed to navigate the maze of buildings with perfect knowledge of enemy positions. "How is the animal locating the combat drones?" Admiral Crix's mechanical voice carried a note of genuine puzzlement. "Our sensors show no active scanning from either the human or her companion." Colonel Chen moved parallel to Marcus, her weapon ready but not leading. She followed the dog's silent signals, her own training allowing her to interpret the subtle shifts in his posture and ear position. When Marcus froze, tail straight and head cocked at a precise angle, Chen knew exactly what it meant. 3 enemies, second floor, eastern window. Chen's rifle whispered as she fired 3 precisely placed shots. The combat drones, programmed with the reflexes and tactical awareness of the galaxy's finest soldiers, had no time to react. They had been focused on scanning for technological signatures and energy emissions, completely unprepared for a biological sensor system that operated on principles their programmers had never encountered. "Impossible!" Captain Thessara bubbled frantically. "Those drones were positioned in optimal overwatch locations. They should have detected any approach." Marcus was already moving again, his 4-legged gait carrying him up a fire escape with surprising agility. Colonel Chen followed, both human and dog working in perfect synchronization. The delegates watched in stunned silence as the pair cleared building after building with efficiency that bordered on the supernatural. "The canine appears to be detecting targets through olfactory analysis," Dr. Yithmak, the Council's chief xenobiologist, announced after running rapid calculations. "But that should be impossible at these ranges and with this level of precision." What the aliens didn't understand was 40 million years of evolution. Marcus's nose contained over 300 million scent receptors compared to a human's mere 6 million. He could detect the metallic signatures of the combat drones' components, the ozone from their energy systems, even the minute chemical traces left by their movement through the air. His brain processed this information faster than most computers, creating a 3-dimensional map of threats that updated in real time. Marcus suddenly dropped flat against a rooftop, his body language screaming danger to his human partner. Chen immediately took cover as energy bolts seared the air where she had been standing. 2 combat drones had attempted an ambush from concealed positions, but Marcus was already in motion. The dog launched himself from the rooftop in a leap that seemed to defy gravity, landing on the first drone with 60 pounds of muscle and momentum. His jaws, powered by a bite force of over 500 pounds per square inch, crushed the drone's control center before it could recalibrate its targeting systems. The second drone swiveled to engage this unexpected threat, but Chen was ready. Her shot took its center mass while its attention was focused on her 4-legged partner. 12 hostiles eliminated, the chamber's computer announced. Mission completion time, 11 minutes, 43 seconds, 0 civilian casualties. The silence in the council chamber was deafening. General Mordun's 4 eyes blinked rapidly as he processed what he had witnessed. The tactical efficiency is unprecedented. But surely this was an anomaly. One successful engagement proves nothing. Colonel Chen seemed to anticipate this response. Honored delegates, may I present Sergeant Rivera and Luna for hostage rescue Scenario 12? The chamber reconfigured into an industrial complex where terrorists held captives in multiple locations. This scenario typically required teams of specialists and took hours to complete safely. The Cavallari delegation had set the current record at 2 hours and 17 minutes. Luna was a Belgian Malinois, smaller than Marcus, but with an intensity that made the assembled aliens unconsciously step back from their viewing screens. Her dark coat seemed to absorb light as she surveyed the tactical situation with predatory focus. "Luna," Sergeant Rivera whispered. "Find." The dog disappeared into the complex like smoke. Her movement was different from Marcus's methodical advance. This was the calculated hunt of an apex predator. Luna could distinguish between the scent signatures of terrified hostages and aggressive captors, between the stress chemicals of victims and the adrenaline markers of threats. Within minutes, she had located all 17 hostages across the facility. But more than that, she had identified the exact positions of their captors, the patrol routes of additional enemies, and the optimal approach vectors for rescue attempts. Rivera moved through the complex, guided by Luna's intelligence, neutralizing threats with surgical precision. When they reached the first group of hostages, Luna positioned herself between the captives and potential danger, while Rivera secured the area. "The animal is providing tactical intelligence," Admiral Crix observed, his electronic voice tinged with something approaching amazement. "Real-time threat assessment and battlefield awareness that rivals our best AI systems." But the delegates were about to see something that would challenge their understanding of military doctrine itself. During the rescue of the final group of hostages, a combat drone managed to wound Sergeant Rivera. As he fell behind cover, clutching his shoulder, Luna's demeanor transformed completely. The tactical hunter became something primal and terrifying. The dog launched herself at the drone with a snarl that sent subsonic vibrations through the chamber floor. Her attack was not random animal aggression. It was calculated, precise, and absolutely ruthless. She struck the drone's weak points with anatomical knowledge that spoke to generations of selective breeding and training. But what happened next stunned the aliens into complete silence. As Rivera struggled to maintain combat effectiveness with his wounded arm, Luna began compensating for his limitations. She anticipated his movements, provided cover when he needed to reload, and even retrieved ammunition from his fallen pack to place within easy reach. "The creature is adapting its tactical behavior in real time," Dr. Yithmak announced, his voice barely audible. "It is not simply following programmed responses. It is thinking, evaluating, and modifying strategy based on changing battlefield conditions." The hostage rescue concluded in 37 minutes, a new galactic record. 0 casualties among the hostages, and 1 wounded human who completed the mission despite his injury because his partner had adjusted her entire tactical approach to compensate for his limitations. The final demonstration featured Corporal Thompson and Scout in a perimeter defense scenario. Scout was a border collie mix, bred from lines of herding dogs whose intelligence had been legendary on Earth for centuries. The scenario placed them in command of an automated defense grid protecting a research station. Waves of enemies would attempt to breach the perimeter using various tactics, and the defenders had to coordinate multiple defensive systems while maintaining situational awareness across a vast area. Scout demonstrated capabilities that redefined the aliens' understanding of military intelligence. The dog could track dozens of separate threats simultaneously, predict their movement patterns, and coordinate defensive responses across multiple systems. His herding instincts, refined through millennia of breeding, translated into an ability to control battlefield flow that left the aliens speechless. When enemy forces attempted to breach the eastern sector, Scout was already repositioning automated turrets to create overlapping fields of fire. When they tried to tunnel under the northern perimeter, he detected the vibrations through sensitive paws and directed countermeasures to the exact location. The K9 is operating the defense grid more efficiently than our best tactical computers, Admiral Crix reported, his voice now carrying unmistakable respect. Response times are instantaneous, and threat prioritization is flawless. But the most impressive moment came when enemy forces attempted a coordinated assault from multiple directions. Scout stood at the center of the command post, his head moving in precise increments as he processed information from across the battlefield. Thompson simply followed his partner's indicators, trusting completely in the dog's tactical assessment. Perimeter defense successful, the computer announced. All objectives secured. Defense efficiency rating, 97%. The council chamber remained silent for a full minute after the demonstration ended. 47 galactic civilizations, representing thousands of years of military evolution and technological advancement, had just witnessed 3 primitive animals and their human partners redefine the possible. General Mordun was the first to speak, his voice careful and measured. Colonel Chen, we may have underestimated the tactical applications of your companions. Colonel Chen smiled for the first time since arriving at the station. General, you've seen 3 dogs and 3 humans working together. We have over 4 million active military working dogs on Earth, each trained for specific tactical roles. We have breeds specialized for every conceivable military application. She gestured to Marcus, who sat at perfect attention beside her. What you witnessed today isn't technology, it's evolution. It's what happens when 2 species choose to face the universe together instead of alone. 3 months later, the first reports from the Zarathi front lines reached the Galactic Council, and the tone of the communications was very different from the mockery that had filled the chamber during the human demonstrations. Emergency session called to order, Zekthar announced, though his usual commanding presence seemed diminished. We have received tactical reports from Sector 7, where human forces were deployed against Zarathi advanced scouts. The assembled delegates shifted uncomfortably. The Zarathi swarm had been pushing deeper into galactic territory for 2 years, overwhelming every defensive force sent against them. Their bioships could adapt to any weapons system within hours, and their collective intelligence made conventional tactics useless. Admiral Crix's mechanical form clicked as he processed the incoming data. The reports are difficult to categorize within standard military parameters. What do you mean, Admiral? Captain Thessara asked, her breathing apparatus bubbling with nervous energy. The Zarathi encountered human canine units 3 days ago near the Proxima relay station. The swarm deployed 17 bioships and approximately 4,000 drone warriors. Standard galactic protocol would have been immediate withdrawal and request for reinforcement. And the humans? General Mordun's 4 eyes focused intently on the Admiral. They advanced. The chamber fell silent, except for the ambient hum of life support systems. Admiral Crix continued. Initial combat reports indicate the human dogs detected the Zarathi presence, while the bioships were still 2 light minutes away. This early warning allowed human forces to establish defensive positions and coordinate with orbital support before the enemy realized they had been discovered. Dr. Yithmak leaned forward. How is early detection at that range possible? Zarathi bioships are specifically evolved to avoid sensor detection. According to the human reports, the dogs detected scent traces in the solar wind. Our xenobiologists are still attempting to understand this phenomenon. The tactical display activated, showing a 3-dimensional representation of the Proxima system. Red markers indicated Zarathi positions, while blue markers showed human dog teams scattered across multiple moons and asteroids. The engagement lasted 17 hours, Admiral Crix reported. The humans employed tactics that our computers classify as impossible and contradictory to established military doctrine. Explain, Zekthar demanded. Human dog teams operated independently across multiple battlefields simultaneously, maintaining coordination without technological communication systems. The dogs appeared to be tracking individual Zarathi warriors across vast distances, through vacuum and radiation fields that should have made biological detection impossible. The tactical display showed the progression of the battle. Human forces moved in patterns that seemed random until viewed from a strategic perspective, when they revealed themselves as a carefully orchestrated hunt spanning the entire system. But the most significant development, Admiral Crix continued, was the reaction of the Zarathi themselves. For the first time in recorded history, the swarm displayed what can only be described as fear. Gasps and clicks of disbelief echoed through the chamber. The bioships began attempting to withdraw after 12 hours of engagement. Intercepts of Zarathi biocommunications indicate they were unable to predict or counter the tactical patterns employed by the human dog teams. General Morden studied the tactical readouts with growing amazement. The humans were fighting a distributed campaign across multiple orbital bodies. How did they maintain tactical coherence without real-time communication? We're still analyzing the data, Admiral Crix admitted. But preliminary studies suggest the dogs were somehow sharing sensory information across distances that exceed any known biological capability. The humans refer to this as pack awareness. Captain Thessara's tentacles writhed nervously. What were the casualties? Zarathi losses. All 17 bioships destroyed, approximately 3,800 drone warriors eliminated. The remaining Zarathi forces fled the system. And human losses? 14 wounded. 0 killed. 2 dogs required medical treatment for minor injuries. The silence that followed was absolute. Delegate Yivrin materialized more solidly than usual. You're telling us that a single regiment of humans and their animals defeated a Zarathi assault force that we estimated would require 3 full galactic fleets to repel? That is correct. Zekthar stood slowly. I believe we need to reassess our understanding of human military capabilities. The Chamber's communications system activated, announcing an incoming priority transmission from the human command ship. Colonel Chen's face appeared on the main display, and she was not alone. Marcus sat beside her, along with a dozen other dogs of various breeds and sizes. Honored delegates, Chen began, I'm transmitting a formal report on the Proxima engagement, but I wanted to address some misconceptions that may still exist about our capabilities. She gestured to the dogs around her. These aren't just our companions or tools, they're our partners in a way that your species may not understand. When we say they're soldiers, we mean they think, they plan, they sacrifice, and they overcome obstacles just like any sentient being. Marcus looked directly into the camera, his intelligent eyes seeming to study each delegate individually. Several aliens instinctively stepped back from their viewing screens. At Proxima, the dogs detected Zarathi biosignatures and traces of organic matter so minute that our best sensors couldn't register them. They tracked individual enemies across millions of kilometers by following molecular trails through space dust and solar radiation. Dr. Yithmak frantically took notes. This suggests sensory capabilities that exceed theoretical maximums for carbon-based life. But more than that, Chen continued, they coordinated their human partners in tactical patterns that the Zarathi couldn't predict because they're based on pack-hunting behaviors that predate spaceflight by millions of years, ancient strategies applied to modern warfare. The camera panned to show the bridge of the human ship, where dozens of human dog teams worked in perfect coordination. Each dog wore sophisticated tactical gear, but their eyes held the same predatory intelligence that had evolved in wolves stalking prey across prehistoric landscapes. The Zarathi are a hive mind, Chen explained. They think collectively, logically, predictably, but pack hunters think differently. We're individuals who choose to work together, who can split off and rejoin, who can sacrifice for the group while maintaining independent initiative. She paused, letting the implications sink in. The Zarathi encountered something they had never faced before, a hunting pack that spanned star systems. Admiral Crix processed this information rapidly. You're suggesting that human canine military units operate as extended pack structures across tactical distances that would normally require technological coordination. Exactly. And now I have a proposition for the Galactic Council. Zekthar leaned forward. We're listening. The Zarathi are advancing on 17 fronts across Council space. Your traditional military responses have delayed them, but never stopped them. We're offering something different. Colonel Chen stood, and every dog on the bridge came to attention simultaneously. We're offering to teach you to hunt. The next 6 months transformed galactic warfare doctrine. Human dog training teams were deployed to every major council military installation, teaching alien forces concepts that their civilizations had never developed. The Kvalari, with their natural pack instincts, adapted quickly. Within weeks, their soldiers were working alongside human dog teams in coordinated assault patterns that their previous military doctrine had never imagined possible. The aquatic species of the profound depths discovered that their three-dimensional thinking meshed perfectly with the multi-layered hunting strategies that dogs had perfected. Soon, hybrid units were conducting underwater assaults that overwhelmed Zarathi bioships with tactics that seemed to flow like ocean currents. Even the mechanical beings of the machine collective found value in the organic unpredictability that dogs brought to their precisely calculated battle plans. Their quantum processors couldn't replicate the intuitive leaps that allowed dogs to anticipate enemy movements, but they could support and amplify those capabilities. The results exceeded every projection. At the Battle of Kepler Station, a mixed force of humans, dogs, and hegemony warriors executed a coordinated assault that destroyed a Zarathi breeding ship for the first time in galactic history. The key was a border collie named Rex, who somehow sensed the ship's reproductive cycle and directed the attack during a critical vulnerability window that lasted only 17 minutes. The Siege of the Outer Rings saw Kvalari pack hunters and German shepherds working together in assault formations that moved like living shadows through Zarathi defensive lines. The enemy's bioships simply couldn't adapt fast enough to counter tactics that combined millions of years of pack evolution with advanced galactic technology. But the most significant change wasn't tactical, it was psychological. For the first time since the Zarathi invasion began, galactic forces were winning, not just delaying or surviving, but actively hunting and destroying the enemy. Morale soared as species that had never worked together found themselves united in something older than civilization: the hunt. The turning point came at the Battle of Saul's Gate, the critical relay point that controlled access to human space. The Zarathi had gathered their largest fleet ever assembled, over 200 bioships and a massive queen vessel that could spawn new warriors faster than defenders could eliminate them. Colonel Chen, now promoted to general, commanded a combined force of 37 species and over 10,000 human-dog teams. As the enemy fleet approached, she stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship with Marcus beside her, both of them studying tactical displays that showed an enemy force that outnumbered them 5-1. "They think they're hunting us," Chen said quietly, scratching behind Marcus's ears. "They don't realize they're walking into the biggest pack hunt in galactic history." When the battle began, it wasn't warfare as the galaxy had known it. It was a coordinated hunt conducted across 3 star systems, with human dog teams directing alien forces in patterns that flowed like music. Every species contributed their unique capabilities, but the rhythm was set by the ancient partnership between humans and dogs. The Zarathi queenship, protected by layers of bioarmor and defensive drones, found itself surrounded not by attacking fleets, but by hunting packs that struck from unexpected angles before melting away into space. Each assault was perfectly timed, coordinated by dogs who could sense the ship's biological rhythms and anticipate its defensive responses. When the Queen ship finally fell, its death cry echoed across subspace in frequencies that every dog in the system heard simultaneously. The surviving Zarathi forces fled into deep space, abandoning their invasion of galactic territory. Later, as the combined fleet celebrated their victory, General Chen stood before the Galactic Council one final time. Marcus sat beside her, older now but still alert, his muzzle gray with age but his eyes still sharp. "Honored delegates," Chen began, "today we proved something that our species have known for 40,000 years. When we choose to stand together, when we hunt together, there's nothing in the universe we can't overcome." She looked down at Marcus, who looked back with the satisfied expression of a job well done. "You invited us to join your military alliance because you thought you needed more soldiers, but what you really needed was to remember what it means to be pack hunters in an indifferent universe." The applause that followed wasn't the polite acknowledgement typical of council sessions. It was genuine, heartfelt appreciation from beings who had discovered something they never knew they were missing. As the session ended and delegates began making plans for the new galactic military doctrine based on human canine tactical principles, Marcus dozed contentedly in a patch of artificial sunlight. He didn't understand politics or space travel or the vast implications of what they had accomplished, but he understood pack and loyalty and the ancient bond that had carried humans from caves to the stars, and that understanding had been enough to save the galaxy. Years later, military historians would debate the technical aspects of the human integration into galactic society. They would analyze the tactical innovations, study the biological capabilities that made human-canine partnerships so effective, and document the strategic implications of pack-hunting doctrine applied to interstellar warfare. But the real story was simpler than all the analysis and documentation. It was the story of two species who had chosen each other long ago, who had faced every challenge the universe offered together, and who had never learned to give up as long as they had each other. The galaxy had mocked human soldiers and their dogs. Now the galaxy learned to hunt.